In the United States Army, U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Air Force and U.S. Space Force, Lieutenant Colonel is a field grade officer rank, just above the rank of Major and just below the rank of Colonel. It is equivalent to the naval rank of Commander in the other uniformed services. The pay grade for the rank of Lieutenant Colonel is 05. In the United States Armed Forces, the insignia for the rank are a silver oak leaf, with slight stylized differences between the version of the Army and the Air Force and that of the Navy and the Marine Corps. Promotion to Lieutenant Colonel is governed by Department of Defense policies derived from the Defense Officer Personnel Management Act. DOPMA guidelines suggest that 70% of majors be promoted to Lieutenant Colonel after serving at least 3 years at their present rank and after 15 to 17 years of cumulative commissioned service. The U.S. Army uses the three-letter abbreviation, LTC, while the Marine Corps and Air Force use the abbreviations of COL and LT COL, respectively. These abbreviation formats are also outlined in the Naval Institute Guide to Naval Writing and in Air Force Handbook 33-337. The tongue and quill. The United States Government Publishing Office recommends the abbreviation, LTC, for U.S. Army usage, COL, for Marine Corps usage, and Lieutenant COL, for the Air Force. The Associated Press Stylebook recommends the abbreviation, Lieutenant COL, for the Army, Marine Corps, and Air Force. Slang terms for the rank historically used by the U.S. military include Light Colonel, Short Colonel, Light Bird, Half Colonel, Walking Colonel, Bottle Cap Colonel, and Telephone Colonel. The rank of Lieutenant Colonel has existed in the British Army since at least the 16th century and was used in both American colonial militia and colonial regular regiments. The Continental Army continued the British and colonial use of the rank of Lieutenant Colonel as the second in command to a colonel commanding a regiment. The Lieutenant Colonel was sometimes known as Lieutenant to the Colonel. In British practice, regiments were actually commanded by their lieutenant colonels, as the colonel was a titular position. Since the British colonel was not a combat officer, beginning in May 1778 to simplify prisoner of war exchanges, American regiments began to eliminate colonels by attrition and replace them with a lieutenant colonel commandant. The conversion was never completely effected and some regiments remained commanded by colonels throughout the war. From 1784 until 1791, there was only one lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, who acted as the Army's commanding officer. In the Continental Army, aides to the Commander-in-Chief, viz. Lieutenant General George Washington, were lieutenant colonels. Additionally, certain officers serving under the Adjutant General, Inspector General, and Judge Advocate General, ranked as lieutenant colonels. During the 19th century, lieutenant colonel was often a terminal rank for many officers, since the rank of full colonel was considered extremely prestigious and reserved only for the most successful officers. Upon the outbreak of the Civil War, the rank of lieutenant colonel became much more common and was used as a stepping stone for officers who commanded small regiments or battalions and were expected, by default, to be promoted to full colonel once the manpower of a regiment grew in strength. Such was the case of Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, who commanded a Maine regiment as both a lieutenant colonel and later as a colonel. After the Civil War ended, those officers remaining in the military found lieutenant colonel to again be a terminal rank, although many lieutenant colonels were raised to higher positions in a brevet status. Such was the case with George A. Custer, who was a lieutenant colonel in the regular army, but held the brevet rank of Major General. The 20th century saw lieutenant colonel in its present-day status, although during the 1930s, many officers again found the rank to be terminal as the rank of colonel was reserved for only a select few officers. In the United States Army and the United States Marine Corps, and a command sergeant major or sergeant major, a lieutenant colonel may also serve as a brigade combat team, regiment regimental combat team, Marine aviation group of a division, Marine Expeditionary Brigade, These staff positions include G1, G4, G9. The GN may mean either a specific staff section or the staff officer leading a section. Lieutenant colonels may also be junior staff at a variety of higher echelons. In the United States Air Force, a lieutenant colonel is generally a squadron commander in the operations group, mission support group, or maintenance groups, or a squadron commander or division chief in a medical group. The lieutenant colonel also may serve as a director of operations, similar to how other Air Force lieutenant colonels are selected to serve as SQA.